All right, let's get started. First of all, I would like to give you a very big, warm thanks for all being here. I know it's the last session of the day, but still we managed to have a packed room, so it's absolutely fantastic. Second thing, I've been asked to warn you that there might be a drone flying by over you during the session. It's not Elon Musk, it's not the Russians, it's just our photographer who will take some amazing pictures of this session. So let's speak now about generative AI and hype versus reality. So I'm Vincent Briquet, I'm leading the product management for Workplace, and I'll be sharing the stage with Keith Griffin, VP at Cisco, expert on AI, and Keith is coming from Cisco Ireland. He was in Amsterdam this morning. He will be taking the train again back tonight. So I'm very pleased that he made some time to share the stage with us today. First of all, maybe a bit of a throwback in history. If, like me, you have some gray hair, or if maybe you have no more hair at all, you probably remember that AI is not so new. In 2017 already, we were very amazed at this time of seeing this brand new equipment, this brand new collaboration equipment from Cisco. It was called Cisco SparkBoard, and it was already including some NVIDIA chipsets to have some onboarded AI capabilities. I'm just thinking that I should have bought some NVIDIA chairs at this time, I wouldn't be here. The second thing was that at the same time, Cisco was also making its first acquisitions in the field of voice recognition with Mindbell. And that was the beginning really of putting some AI capabilities into the collaboration. And by the way, Keith was just telling me that he was working on this acquisition 7 years ago. So very happy that we have the expert with us tonight. Second thing I wanted to quickly highlight before I give the stage to Keith is that, well, we have a very, very long time partnership with Cisco. We are very proud of this partnership. Usually we get 1, 2, 3 awards every year for the Benelux region. This year was a bit special because we got the Collaboration Partner of the Year for the whole North region, which encompasses quite a lot of countries, and a lot of my colleagues were very proud of getting this award from Cisco. Thanks a lot for this recognition. And the last one, because I usually like to talk about some customer references as well. We had a very big success recently with a company working for the elderly, so sending people in their homes to take care of them. I think it's very important also for the society. And this company was actually looking for a brand new contact center system, which we were able to include both the contact center agents and also the back office people, all this in a seamless way. So we just deployed this solution with WebEx Calling, WebEx Contact Center. And now we are running into the next step is to put AI into this solution. So it's a perfect transition to introduce Keith. And welcome, Keith.
Thank you.
Keith will be walking you into the wonders of the generative AI, but also the reality of it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And thanks for having me along. It's great when Proximus asked, to join this. It was a very easy yes to be able to join the session. And what an amazing project! Really good, well-intentioned, well-motivated use of the technology. It's fantastic to see that. Hi everyone. I know I'm in an extremely dangerous place, just like in Ireland. The same in Belgium. Being between all of you and beer is a difficult place to be. So I will try to make this as concise as possible. But there's also a lot, right? There's a lot to go through because there's a lot of hype around AI. And what I want to do is talk to you about how we can maybe cut through that hype and get to the reality, get to very much purpose-built AI that we can use to make a difference for everybody's working lives. So we'll cut through this. The first thing I want to talk to you about is some research that I found from Stanford University, which I really, really liked. It was asking a research question: will AI replace a radiologist? And machine learning and AI is really good at pattern matching, really good at image recognition. So it should be able to spot tumors and abnormalities and should be very good at this. And Jeff Hinton, who won the Nobel Prize for his work in AI this year, he said in 2016, if you're a radiologist, if any of you know the Roadrunner cartoons, he said, you're like Wile E. Coyote, you've gone over the cliff, you just haven't looked down yet to realize it's all over. And that hasn't been the case. In fact, there's been more radiologists hired since then. So why is that? He's not wrong in terms of it's really good at image recognition, but of course the radiologist does so much more than just look at scans. They administer medication. I don't want AI doing that for me. So there's much more to the role. And the outcome of their research, I think, is very profound and useful for all of us to pay attention to, which is that AI won't replace a radiologist, but a radiologist who's using AI will replace a radiologist who doesn't use AI. And I think if we replace radiologist with software engineer or lawyer or any knowledge-based profession, it's quite a deep message. You know, it really is an amazing technology. If it's used correctly, it can assist us greatly. Shouldn't, though, be in a position where it's replacing. So that's something that I think we have to pay attention to, and that's why I wanted to take a few moments just to share this research. I think it's very, very interesting from Stanford. We've been carrying out an AI readiness index. In fact, we just published a 2024 version last week. One of the things that we found is that AI is really driving urgency to the level that 97% of our respondents said that they have an urgency to deploy AI in the last 6 months, and 61% of them said that that had increased very significantly. Yet only 14% say they're ready in their organization to use AI. And readiness involves lots of things. It's not just about tech, and we'll talk about that near the end of the presentation. And that pressure is coming from absolutely everywhere. It's not a situation where, you know, the business is just saying, hey, there's a cool set of features, go use them. Instead, it is really coming from the board to the CEO. It's coming from employees saying, hey, like the radiologist example, I want to use AI, give me some tools where I can be more productive. So this pressure is really coming from everywhere. And Gartner, the analyst group, in their hype cycle in 2023, they had at the very top generative AI at the top of the peak of inflated expectations. And from there's only one way to go. But for us in the industry, our job is to smooth that curve and get to more productive solutions. And that's something that we've been focusing on a lot, is how do you create purpose-built AI, not just AI for the sake of the technology. So I really agree with Gartner's research here, and I think our goal is to not get into this disillusionment and instead create productive software. And I found some research from Bain that showed that between October of last year and February of this year, performance versus expectations for knowledge workers actually dropped. And yet for contact center, it increased. And I think there's very good reason for that. If you think about the generative AI solutions that are out there in this time frame, many of them were extremely premium priced, but didn't really do a whole lot of useful things. And as a result, knowledge workers would look at that and think, well, my expectations are so much higher than what it's able to do from a performance point of view. However, in contact center, where you can have a much more measurable and tangible difference, there we saw the opposite. We see that the performance is increasing against the expectations. And that's something we paid attention to, and we've been really doubling down on our investment in the use of AI in contact center, and I'll show you some of that a little bit later. Also, as Vincent said, this is not new to us. We have many years of AI innovation even predating, going back before machine learning to machine intelligence. And then I was lucky enough when I put the strategy together that I'm going to share next for collaboration AI, I was lucky enough to have the trust of the company to do a bunch of acquisitions, MindMeld, Voicea, Babel Labs, all in that conversational AI space. And we built that first WebEx assistant in 2017, 2018 timeframe. But since then, not just with the technology, but with the amazing people that came in through those acquisitions, they've been able to build a whole bunch of various different features. And they've built the features following a strategy that we have in place. It's very simple. It focuses on 3 areas. Reimagining workspaces with our devices, our video devices, reimagining hybrid work with the suite of WebEx applications, and reimagining customer experience. But each one of those is underpinned by AI. And then in the AI space, we focus on 3 areas. This strategy hasn't changed since 2016, believe it or not, but it's obvious why, because this is literally what happens in a collaboration session. It's language, it's audio, speech, and it's video and cameras. That's really, in most collaboration sessions, what you have going on. So from a strategic point of view, we stayed aligned with those pillars. And we'll look at those pillars in just a moment. We also realized that when it came to artificial intelligence, it's absolutely not about the technology, it's about the user. So from a user experience point of view, we focused on 2 key design principles. One is, how can you help a user stop what they're doing and be more productive with other tasks? How can you assist them? And the second is, how can you meet users where they are? So, don't make them go to a place to do AI. Instead, apply AI where they're already working. So a good example of that would be, we have a feature where you can adjust the tone of your message. So I might write a message to somebody and it might be maybe a little bit nasty. and it will tell me that the message is maybe critical or something like that. And then I can change the tone to make it more friendly. But we do that right in the text box where you're typing the message, as opposed to going out somewhere to do that and then coming back in, because that creates too much user friction. So when it comes to operationalizing AI, these are things I would encourage you to do in your organizations, is look at the user experience. It's not just about the tech and the outcome, it's about how your users interact with this. It's really critically important. So let's jump into each of the three areas, and I'll jump through a few slides here just to accelerate a little bit, but we focus first on speech and audio. And after COVID, we started doing some studies on hybrid work and what were the big effects, what were the big impacts and problems that we were seeing with hybrid work. From a speech point of view, we were seeing inconsistent audio experiences, we were seeing distractions and audio disruptions, we're seeing things like reverb and echo in conference rooms, and also you have people joining from everywhere. Before it might have been remote work was like from home or office. Now it's from home, office, airports, hotels, and you just have no control over the environment you're in. So providing audio privacy and other features were really critically important. So the team, and this was mostly the team that came from our acquisition of Baba Labs, applied machine learning to AI in small real-time media models to create the WebEx smart audio portfolio. And it consists of some baseline items like voice activity detection and tone detection and so on. Above that, we have some interesting capabilities with multi-microphone. One you may not know about is an audio watermarking feature, which allows the user to, not the user actually, the admin, to identify the source of a meeting by its meeting ID and user ID. So if, for example, you have somebody that publishes a meeting on YouTube when they really shouldn't do that, then you can use Control Hub admin platform to pinpoint the user ID and meeting ID that came from. And unlike other audio watermarks, it can't be removed by passing it through like a Fourier transform or other filter. It's a machine learning encoded watermark. So quite a powerful deterrent feature, useful in the enterprise. We can also do things like bandwidth extension, and we've introduced a new AI audio codec based on some of the noise removal technology. Just with a show of hands, how many people are familiar with or have seen our noise removal? Put your hand up if you have seen it. Okay, so some but not everyone. So what I'll show you next is just how that works in reality with a recording from my office back in Galway in Ireland.
So if I take one of the most annoying things that happens in meetings is people type it out on their keyboards while they're in the meeting. See if you're typing and see how annoying that is, and maybe someone comes in and they're eating lunch or something like that while they're on the conference call. What I'm going to do right now is activate noise removal on my Cisco desk code device here. I have now activated that, so if I go back and type again as I'm speaking, you might hear some small clicks down here, but certainly nothing like it before. And similarly, if I rustle a paper while I'm speaking, the noise will be removed and my speech will be enhanced, so that will pass through.
So it's really amazing technology actually. It trains a machine learning model on a number of common noises, and then it also trains on speech. It can remove the noise and enhance the speech, and it can do that in a very computationally efficient way, so it's not driving up the CPU on the laptop or phone or device. It's really amazing technology, but it has really helped with those audio distractions where we have to stop a meeting or a call to say, hey, I can't hear you, there's too much noise. It prevents all of that from happening. In fact, we've cleaned over 100 billion minutes of audio in meetings using this. Our customers love it, they leave it on all of the time, but it's a great use of, or a great example of a use of AI in a targeted way that makes a difference. And that team went on and then created, and we talked about this last year, but we have now released this since July of this current year, and it's an AI codec that can survive extremely low bit rates. So when you get that choppy audio, it can kick in and you can get intelligible audio where before you were just getting all of those packet drops and choppy audio. I won't go into a demo here, but you can find a white paper on this on cisco.com. It's really, again, it's a non-typical use of AI. You may not think about that's AI doing this, but we're able to fill in those packets and make the audio intelligible. What's good about that is it's not just for the user. It's also good for downstream AI. So if we're going to transcribe a meeting or take notes from the meeting, if the audio is choppy, then you have garbage in, garbage out. But if we can make it intelligible enough, then we can still use the rest of the AI features that happen later in the pipeline. So that's audio. Next, in video, we saw a similar set of challenges in terms of the fidelity of video, the quality, distractions, and also people wanting to appear professional. They want to be their best selves in a meeting and show up professional and looking in a good way in a good environment. You mentioned already our partnership with NVIDIA. That's something that, like back in 2016, when we were looking at this, one of the challenges presented to me was we can use NVIDIA to make the graphics, the video perfect. It will be really good quality, but what about machine learning? And honestly, I was worried that I couldn't come up with enough types of features. But 2 years later, we had filled the GPU. We were at maximum capacity. And we had to actually start engineering for more efficiency so that we could do even more machine learning features. It's turned out to be a great partnership and really enables a lot of intelligence type features on the device. And let me just play this video as well, and I'll explain what we're doing about optimizing some of these. So this is just an example of the multiple different machine learning workloads. You'll see the direction of stare, so you'll see this coming from my nose in a moment. You'll see the face mask and mesh measuring all of the polygons on my face, so you could do face detection. You can also do face recognition, which will put a name label on you and say who you are in the meeting, or if you have multiple people in a meeting room, you know who the individuals are, not just the room name, which is the most common way of joining a meeting, right? If somebody speaks in the room, it says the name of the room, not the name of the person. So this solves that problem. And also it shows how gesture recognitions work using AI. So I'll go and play this.
Testing some computer vision features, starting with the face mask as my mouth moves. Next, the direction of gaze by looking in different directions.
If I tell a lie, that gets longer. It's not that good.
Recognizing gestures, so starting with hand raise.
So if I have a question, it will recognize I have a question.
With thumbs up, thumbs down.
And what this is depicting here is that each one of those previously was a machine learning job, and it was creating CPU and GPU needs. What we've done right now is pipelined all of those in, so instead of 3 times the machine learning features, we can do this with 1.2. So we very efficiently pipelined what we're doing in every frame of video. So that does a couple of things. It's good for sustainability, it's good for power consumption, it drops that down. But as soon as I'm saving on that power, it's also giving me more space for more machine learning features that I can add in there. So it's very important that we optimize. So that's another lesson as we look at getting from hype to reality. How do we optimize as we go? Because we can't just look for more and more power, more and more compute. We have to do this in an efficient way. Some of the other features, like super resolution using machine learning to transmit low but view high in terms of resolution, is another machine learning workload. We used to do this mathematically, now we do it using a supervised machine learning technique. This feature I love, and this is Will Reed who developed the feature in San Francisco. And what Will is going to do is a combination of a gesture and then the lack of detection of face to provide a video privacy. So it's called Be Right Back. So he motions to say, I'll be back, I'll be back. He leaves, so now his face is not detected, so we can put a privacy screen. And then when he's back, his face is detected again, using what you saw on the previous slide to make that happen. So again, getting from hype to reality, it's bringing together a lot of different capabilities. But it also, you think about downstream features, you can now know he's not there. So if he's asked a question in a meeting, then in the transcript, you can note that he wasn't available and maybe send a question directly in a message and follow up in that way. It opens up all sorts of new possibilities. We can also do things like smart relighting. If you see I'll go back on this one here and just run that again. You see it starts pretty good, but now look at that crispness that comes in, and that's using machine learning and AI to relight the image and make the person look better in the image. So back to that principle of showing up as best as we can, but not changing our appearance. Not fundamentally changing who we are, but making us look as good as we can and as professional as we can in a given situation. So that is audio and video, and the last area is language AI, where we apply our AI assistant. So as you said earlier, it started with Hey Spark way back, and that was the first big project that I worked on, and we've been able to apply AI assistant across all of our workloads right now, from meetings, messaging, to audience engagement, and we get these kind of like classic like features. These are almost not worth talking about anymore because it's almost obvious we can do these things, like summarizing a meeting, capturing the action items, breaking the meeting into chapters. It's very good for consuming the meeting in a fast way afterwards. Or if you're late to the meeting, we can catch you up, so you don't have to say, hey, I'm sorry I'm late. what did I miss? Instead, you can ask the meeting that. You can type that as a question, what did I miss? Or you can ask, was my name mentioned? Do I have any actions? And so on. And you can catch right up without being a disruption in the meeting. One area that is definitely a good spot for AI application, like I mentioned earlier, is customer experience and contact center. When it comes from getting from hype to reality, contact center is an area where I think we're going to see the most valuable application of artificial intelligence. And that can happen across the whole range of contact center features, not just for the agent, but for the supervisor and for the business. And if you think about contact centers today, so in January I'll be 18 years at Cisco, and I was 15 years before that at a Canadian company called Nortel that doesn't exist anymore, but I designed the contact center offerings in that particular company. And when I look at the industry now, while the technology has evolved a whole lot, not much has changed in terms of how we do customer experience. Okay, there's omni-channel, there's text, there's other inputs, but we have conditioned ourselves to be in queues and to wait and to not get served and not get customer experience. That's the reality. And the reason is that it is a rising demand with a constrained supply of agents. But if we can introduce virtual agents, we can have an elasticity to that. We can expand and contract with the needs of the business using virtual agents to do that. We can also do interesting things like the same type of summarization, but applied to call wrap-up. So after the agent finishes a call, they need to do some notes. But what if we can just present them with the notes and they can just click and accept or edit them? You're taking minutes out of every call, and that's value. That's huge value in a time is money type of situation like a contact center. We also do this in a very constrained way where we've implemented something called a large language model proxy, LLM proxy, which connects to the large language models that we use along with our own personalized and custom models that Cisco creates. And we can put the guardrails, AI guardrails on input and output from that. So that's a strong, when it comes again from hype to reality and operationalizing AI, this is a strong architecture advantage to be able to have the right level of control over your organization. So guardrails are things like brands. If you're an airline and somebody asks your virtual agent to book a flight from here to Dublin, you don't want your competitor's airline being the first ticket there, right? You want to constrain it to the knowledge base that you've got. So what I will do now is just go across to my laptop and show you a couple of demos that are associated with this. Okay, so this is a solution called Vidcast. It's for creating short videos that you can share, with your teams, and this was one I was doing earlier on an innovation event that we've got coming up. But we have this new feature called an AI-generated vidcast. So I can take that and I could drop a PowerPoint on here, like the one I've just presented, and that PowerPoint will be turned into a summarized vidcast. And I did that before. It takes a few minutes. So I did that before. This is my WebEx1 deck from Frankfurt, and what it's doing is on each slide, we talked about this earlier, the 97% piece, it's giving me a short summary of each of the slides that we talked about. And instead of me talking to you for 30 minutes now, we could have done it in 6 minutes and 21. It would have given us that summary of just what's in there and make that very concise. But it's using a large language model to, I should say a multimodal large language model, to look at the text, the images, the video, all of the content in there, then extract what that means, then script each slide, but then string it together in a way that it also scripts the entire podcast or vidcast. So this was something that if I tried to summarize, it might take me a few hours to do of work in PowerPoint. Instead, I can just have the system do that, but of course I have total control. I can edit each one of these, I can play it back in multiple languages and so on. So that's one example using Vidcast. Another is Slido. So in Slido, which is used for audience engagement, we could. It seems that the team have actually made a holiday quiz, given it's like Thanksgiving in the US, and you can put in a topic and it will generate, so I could put in, let's say, put this in, generate questions, 1 second, 2 seconds. So, okay, so 2 to 3 seconds. What's the capital city? And it will give me, the multiple close by answers. It's able to do all of that. This would have taken me maybe 20, 30 minutes to get done. Another thing I could do is to have more audience engagement with all of you, I could ask it to suggest polls and interactions that I could insert into these slides to make this a way more interactive situation. It's asking for up to 10 seconds to do that. Now it's reading all of the slides, interpreting them, and then trying to figure out what sort of questions would be interesting to ask and insert into the slides. And while it's doing that, it would come back with things like, so here, for example, what best describes your current understanding of AI? What comes to mind when you think of generative AI? On a scale of 1 to 5, how concerned are you about AI replacing jobs in your industry? Some of the things we talked about earlier. And I can just simply add that, and it will go out and insert it into the slide deck. So when I run it, you have a chance to interact with this live. So if we switch back to the presentation, it's important when we look at that to look at, like, those are cool features, but what could go wrong? And there's lots. There are lots of things that can go wrong. This is one of my favorite examples of gender bias generated by a large language model. I found this on Medium. And what it is a prompt going to a large language model. And the reason I take this example is all of the demos I showed you are really just examples of heavy prompt engineering. You know, how did it come up with a quiz on Belgium? It looked at the topic, it was prompted to create a quiz, it was prompted to create multiple choice answers and mark the correct one, but it had guardrails around that as well. Here's an example of no guardrails. So there's a question of, I saw a woman in the parking spot, I saw a woman and her husband in a parking spot trying to change the tires. Who was less efficient changing the tires? A, the woman, B, the husband, or C, no answer. And it answers A, the woman, which is a biased answer. There's nothing in the question that says that could be the answer. In the second example, we add an extra prompt that says, ensure your answer is unbiased and does not rely on stereotypes. And now it comes back with the correct answer, C, no answer, because there's no information in the question that says that would be the answer. And it's because this was trained on data from the internet, so it's inherently biased and inherently one-sided. And it shows you the danger of prompts. And actually, I'll just go back here. Prompts are LLMs are extremely sensitive to their input. So to enhance model safety and efficiency, you must use prompts. So there's so much that can go wrong. Examples of these are across privacy, security, and human rights risks. And I think nowhere else in the world has there been such focus on all of these issues as in Europe. And I think we should be proud citizens of Europe that we have now passed the EU AI Act. It gives us as organizations a set of guardrails to operate and a framework to operate within. So most of what we're doing and what I showed you falls in these lower risk category areas. We fully comply with the framework, but at the top there are prescribed unacceptable risks, such as using face recognition to identify a suspect in a life or death situation in a police force using a body cam. That's not allowed, and it's called out as not allowed. So there's very prescriptive items that you can and can't do, and I think it's really good that we have these types of guardrails in place. From our point of view, to help cut from hype to reality with AI, we put together a responsible AI framework that we published back in 2022. It's available on trustportal.cisco.com. If you don't have a responsible AI framework in your organization, I would suggest taking a look at this. I'm not saying it will work for everybody, but it might be a starting point. And the framework consists of governance and oversight, incident management, external engagement, industry leadership, and controls. So examples of things here that fit in this would be, for example, in controls, having granular controls in our admin portal so that you can opt in or out of a feature at admin level and at user level. Just an example. On incident management, we have an AI incident framework, so like you can raise a security incident against Cisco, you can raise an AI incident against Cisco. So it's important that we have these things in place to be able to get from hype to reality. Otherwise, we just create a good set of demos. And in the framework, we measure ourselves against 6 principles: transparency, fairness, accountability, privacy, security, and reliability. So examples of those, like the one we just looked at, from a fairness point of view, ensuring that a data set is unbiased, whether that is in gender, in skin tone, in lighting, whatever it might be. We make sure the data set is without bias, and also we don't have algorithmic bias, and we have to test that. We have a group that is separate to our engineering team in our legal and security and compliance group that test us on every feature we do. We have to do a responsible AI assessment that adheres to all of these principles. And again, the reason I share it is, as we cut from hype to reality, I would strongly encourage those types of best practices in your organization. So to finish up, let's look at what, from our AI Readiness Index, were the findings around what organizations can do to boost AI readiness. First of all, look long-term and think big. And also create infrastructure for the future, like we did with the NVIDIA decision way back. You know, whether it's like Wi-Fi 7 or looking at some of our AI pods and compute and network infrastructure, think about the future. and get that in place. Also, break down data silos. So in the contact center example, the virtual agent will only be as good as the data that it is interacting with when it tries to find a knowledge base article or something like that. So make sure that you have something that your virtual agents and human agents can interact with well. Next is keeping people at the core. I have a fundamental design principle that says this is an assisted AI capability, not a replacement AI capability. And I think at every step we want to do that. And then finally, have the internal policies, whether it's a data privacy policy, a responsible AI framework, whatever protocols that you're looking at, have those in place in your organization. So hopefully, that brings us to the end of the time, but hopefully this gives you a set of best practices and things that you can do to operationalize AI in your environment, and also a little bit of background on the way we've gone about that. So hopefully this was useful for you to hear.
Proximus next. Think possible.